What is going on, guys? It's your boy Sympatix, and we're back for another CSGO event recap video. So this past weekend we had IEM Masters Katowice, and it was an insane tournament. I mean, I watched every single game, and it was a really good tournament, and the crowd wasn't as good as I kind of expected it to be, other than for the grand finals and obviously the Virtus Pro game. But at the same time, it was still a good tournament. So yeah, let's get right into the first day results. So Fnatic ended up playing Na'Vi and beat them 16-10 on Dust 2. It was a pretty close game at the same time. I mean, the scoreline kind of... Fnatic was a dominant team in this tournament. I think that's what you have to say. You have to give them the edge, and they were the best team at the tournament. So next game was kind of an upset. I mean, people kind of didn't expect this, but at the same time, it was kind of expected. It was the first time NIP played on LAN with this new lineup, with Pith in the lineup, and yeah, I mean, it showed that they're a new team, and Mo Sports ended up beating them 16-8 on Mirage, and I mean, that wasn't expected, but I think people have to realize, yeah, at the same time, it was their first time on LAN, but at the same time, I think that people have high expectations for NIP, as do I. I think that they should be a top 10 team in the world, and right now they're not, and that's surprising to me. So the next game is LG versus Na'Vi, the infamous rivalry, and it ended up going to Mirage, and Luminosity ended up taking this map 16-11 in the groups to make them 1-0. And this meant that Na'Vi was 0-2 in the group, and they were really, I mean, if they don't win their next two games, that means they would have been out, or even their next game, they would have been out, and Mo Sports could have easily took their spot. So next game, Mo Sports ended up playing the Mongols. The Mongols, I mean, they had a rough tournament, as people expected. I think nobody expected them to really win a game. They ended up getting crushed 16-7 on Dust 2. And so there's not much to say really about that game, but the next game was actually kind of shocking to me personally. I really didn't expect it to end up on Inferno, but this game was Fnatic Luminosity. These guys have played each other in, I don't know, 3 LANs in the finals, let alone, and they always end up in the same group. Luminosity usually upsets them, to be honest, in the groups. They upset them at DreamHack, Cluj-Napoca in the groups, and it was on Inferno, so, I mean, they definitely showed that they're a good team, and in my opinion, they're the second best team in the world, especially after this tournament. And we'll move on to NIP versus the Mongols. NIP beat them 16-5, so not much to say about that game. And the next game was actually closer than a lot of people expected. Fnatic and NIP, the Battle of Sweden. Fnatic ended up edging them 16-14 on Inferno, so that was a really close game. I kind of didn't expect that, but same time, NIP usually shows up and they can usually play well. So the next game is Na'Vi versus Mo Sports. Na'Vi ended up winning 16-6 on Cobble. There's not much to say. I think Na'Vi's one of the best Cobble teams in the world by far. And I mean, it was a super close game, or a super one-sided game, and it was kind of expected, obviously. And then we have Luminosity versus the Mongols, and this was yet again another rough game for the Mongols. They got crushed 16-6. And yeah, that was that. So then NIP played Na'Vi and they actually, this could have been the upset, and this could have possibly sent NIP through had they win. Yeah, they actually could have got through had they beat Fnatic, which is actually surprising, because in a minute you'll see why. So they ended up beating. NIP lost 16-13 to NIP. I read that wrong. And then Luminosity beat Mo Sports on Cobble 16-14. Super close game, super back and forth. And then we have Fnatic versus the Mongols. That was a 16-4 spanking on Cash. Then we have Na'Vi versus the Mongols. That was a 16-6 spanking on Cobble. So I don't know why Mongols would want to play Cobble against Na'Vi, but I guess it don't really matter what map. They're going to get wrecked either way. And then we have LG versus NIP, and Luminosity actually lost this game. They could have had the perfect group stage, 5-0, flawless, yeah, 5-0, and they lost 16-13 on Mirage. The last game of Wednesday was Fnatic versus Mousesports. This went to overtime, and Fnatic ended up winning 19-17. So now we head into day 2, which was a pretty rough day for Envious fans. They ended up losing 16-11 on Train for the first game, and then eFrag played FaZe Clan. FaZe Clan beat them 16-5 on Cash, and I mean that was just a spanking. And then Astralis beat Virtus Pro 16-6 on Overpass. I gotta kind of speed this up, guys, because the gameplay is only 10 minutes, so I gotta kind of condense this. Basically, I think I might just skip this group because I can kind of talk about it. And I mean, Envious went what, yeah, they went 1-3 in the group stage, and they didn't even make it out of groups. They lost to fucking eFrag on Cash, 22-19. Jesus Christ, I didn't even watch that game because I thought that was going to be an absolute spanking, but it ended up being a really close game, and eFrag won. So if you bet on that game, congrats to you, because you're probably rich as fuck. So now we'll move into Friday, which was the quarterfinals and the semifinals. And first match was Na'Vi and Tempo Storm, and I tell you right now, man, Brazil has turned the fuck up over the past year. Straight up, they've built such a strong CS:GO country just with 2 teams. People just don't understand. And all 3 maps were very close, but Na'Vi ended up winning 2-1. Last map was Overpass, I believe, and they ended up winning that game. So Fnatic ended up playing Virtus Pro in the infamous rivalry El Clasico, Fnatic versus Virtus Pro, and it was not a close series at all. I'm pretty sure Fnatic won Train 16-9 or 16-8, and then won Inferno 16-6 or 16-5, I believe. And then Luminosity played, so that ended up making the semifinals, Fnatic versus Astralis and Luminosity versus Na'Vi. So both semifinals were insane. LG ended up 2-0ing Na'Vi, but I mean, there's a new Boostmeister, boys. There's a new Boostmeister. If you've seen in the OT, Guardian and Na'Vi did two different boosts, and they were insane. I've never seen those before ever watching Counter-Strike, and they still lost the map. But I mean, and I've seen one of the greatest clutches with the op that I've ever seen by Fallen. The guy's a monster, and I mean, that's that. So Luminosity 2-0 them, and then we move on to Fnatic Astralis. Fnatic ends up winning 2-1 map count. Last map was, what the fuck was that last map? Overpass? No, that was the first map. Second map was Cash. Inferno maybe? I don't know, but they ended up winning 2-1. And then we'll talk about the finals for like a minute, so, or 30 seconds or so. So Fnatic ended up going down 13-2 on the first half of Overpass against Luminosity. Somehow find a way to win that fucking game. No idea how. And then they spanked them on Cash. I think it was 16-6. And then Inferno happens. They go down 13-2 on their T side. Switch over to T side, or CT side, and just fucking turn the fuck up. I've never seen a team go down 13-2 2 times in one series and end up winning the series 3-0. Never in my fucking life have I ever seen that. Fnatic's best team ever, and they're stating their claim as the best team in the world right here, right now. Every single tournament they play, they're going to get better. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I will be back with another one later this week, hopefully, maybe, or next tournament, obviously, but peace, guys.